Everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope you guys have had a great Thursday. Tonight, we're going to talk some playoff predictions, some AFC, NFC championship predictions. Who's going to the Super Bowl? The season has come and gone, it's flown by. So we're going to hang out tonight. We're going to have some fun. You guys know what it is, man. Hit that like button on the way and hit that subscribe button. Of course, if you guys are new to the channel, and hop in the live chat. We're going to talk some football, maybe talk some future fantasy football. But most importantly, we're going to talk about who we think are going to Super Bowl. We got Steven in the house. What is going on, man?
I don't think I could fall any more in love with Joe Burrow, man. Very, very excited that he keeps winning, getting closer and closer to my future bet cashing out, which I was just telling you about earlier. But really excited that we got another really big time contender in the AFC and a really fun team with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. So definitely excited. I am going to be pulling for the Bengals over the Chiefs, which I mean, I love Mahomes too. So it's kind of crazy I'm saying that, but it's going to be a fun weekend. I will say, I went from really liking the 49ers to now I'm rooting against them because I think they're the only boring team left. I'm really pulling for an Eagles-Bengals Super Bowl. I think that would be a really good one, a really fun one with a lot of points. So it's gonna be a fun weekend, man. And I think we got some good games, some good teams, and the best Final Four remaining. It would have been kind of cool to see Josh Allen still in it, because he's always a good time. You never know if he's going to throw a pick six or if he's going to throw a touchdown. But I definitely think we got the best four teams for sure.
Yeah, lot we can get into tonight, right? Only four teams to really talk about here. I guess we talked about a couple reactions to last week and everything as well. But I think a really interesting aspect that you kind of touched on about being in love with Joe Burrow, right, is last year, right? Last playoffs, we had this Joe Burrow craze out of nowhere. And I was talking to my UPS delivery guy today. He's a big Steelers fan. We were talking about the games this weekend today. And I was like, all year, I swear, all year, nobody talked about Joe Burrow at all. I mean, here and there, right? Big games and good fantasy quarterback, this and that. But all the love was Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patty Mahomes. Burrow got no love this year, and then now that he's in the AFC Championship game again, it's all I've heard since Sunday is Joe Burrow's best quarterback of all time, literally, and I just think it's interesting that the Bengals have really had their backs up against the wall this year, and I think a lot of people counted them out as contenders all season long. They're in the Super Bowl last year, no way they can make it back. Maybe not no way, but just Chiefs, Bills, those are teams we're looking at. And I don't know. I just think it's weird. I just think not a lot of people, and media wise, maybe people like me and you, members of our community, friends and things like that, you guys out there talk about Joe Burrow. But when we're looking at major sports media, that's what I'm referring to. I just feel Burrow got no love.
No, I feel that. And, I think it is kind of an element of who Joe Burrow is, though, is that, I see Godfather saying, kind of saying he's not the next Tom Brady almost. But it's Joe Burrow is a guy that does pick his moments. It seems like he shows up in the big moments. And I think I even said this about Trevor Lawrence when we were going to that first game and Lawrence was about to play the Chiefs. I was like, Lawrence has never really shown to me that he can come up for a big moment and win in the big scene. I mean, in college, he never won the Heisman and he got smoked on big primetime games. And then with Joe Burrow, it's completely opposite. The guy shows up in the biggest of moments, the biggest of times, right? December, January. He rallies his troops. He knows how to play clutch. In my mind, I think he is the most clutch player in the NFL right now. You can definitely say Patrick Mahomes is not that guy. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I think it's mostly probably Andy Reid, have come up short back-to-back years. I mean, at this point, they've had a lot of L's in the playoffs, and it is one thing to get there, right? It's very impressive, but you also need to win if you've got such a great team and such a great quarterback. You need to win in those big moments too. So I think Joe Burrow, I mean, I think this is a guy who's going to every single year come in around the end of the year, and you're going to be able to put your bets on a Bengals team and on a Bengals team to get these W's.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I think Joe Burrow is also really quiet throughout the regular season. Like there's certain moments like when he talks his talk, but and obviously like there's been clips coming out throughout the playoffs and everything of him having like that kind of subtle cocky attitude, right? But I just think throughout the regular season, like super quiet, and then now it's playoff time. He's like,
Now he comes out here with all the, take those tickets back and all that. Yeah, it is kind of funny, but I think that's also part of his thing too, is I think he knows how to rally up this team. Like I think this whole team really does come behind his swagger and his drip. And this whole team, I mean, you look at Jamar Chase and he just bleeds, like oozes swagger. And I think, it all comes from the top with Joe Burrow. And I think all of his teammates, even Eli Apple, kind of feed off of that energy. And we can probably have a whole nother conversation about Eli Apple and how wild that guy is. But I mean, I really do think, I think part of it is show with Joe Burrow, but you date it back all the way to college. Again, his days at LSU, I mean, he obviously balled out all season at LSU, but when it came playoff time and in the championship and he's smoking that cigar and he's making the big scene and things, he's just got that Joe Namath swagger to him where he's just like, he's all about the TV in the big moments. And he doesn't need the week 1 to week 6. He doesn't need those games, where, there's a bigger moments in the season. He knows when the lights are brightest. And I think that's where the big time Joe Burnasty comes out for sure.
So I feel like we've been Bengals fanboys since last year for sure. This is probably a good way to transition into talking about the Chiefs and Bengals, so we can get into that. We'll give a couple shout outs to the chat here. Then we'll get into a little bit. We got Spencer in the house saying your head is looking larger than ever. We got Godfather. We got our boy Bossman Fat, kind of worried about your haircut. Not much has changed.
What's up, guys? What is up, guys?
We got Jane in the house. We got Derek in the house. How are you, man? Been missing you, bro. Hope you're doing okay, man. Great to have you.
About those boys, man. The Cowboys took the L. That was very unfortunate. Just a quick side take, John. I actually feel like the Cowboys should have won that game. In all seriousness, I remember I was kind of talking about that before the game. I thought the boys might have a chance in that one.
And the defense played great.
I still feel like they should win that game. And if they win that game, I think there's a real argument that they could have beat the Eagles. I think they matched up pretty well against them. Just could have, would have, should have, right? Not sure if it was Mike McCarthy. Not sure if it was Dak Prescott. Probably a mix of both. But
2 picks.
Yeah, those 2 picks were pretty, and it could have been like 5. But
what was the final score? I mean,
they won by 7, I think. It was
it's like so. If you turn those into even just field goals, right? Then at the end of the game, all it's going to take is another. I mean, don't get me wrong, Brett Meyer.
Yeah, we can't just take those things for granted now. Brett Meyer, I mean, geez, dude, I feel like I cursed the guy after I got in that hot debate with you on the kicker scene. He went straight down.
For as many interceptions as Dak threw the second half of the season, those 2 were pretty crucial. And honestly, what the Niners are good at is their secondary doesn't play great, but they're good at forcing pressure and forcing quarterbacks to throw interceptions because that front 7 is arguably the best front 7 in football right now.
And Fred Warner is the best linebacker in the game. The guy can play cornerback at middle linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, he is essentially Patrick Willis, but he can cover anyone
at an elite level. The guy's crazy. He's so good. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but you can get back to the chat. But Fred Warner, I think, is going to be a big time play in this Eagles game.
For sure. All right, we got Smokey in the house. We got Alibaba. What's going on? We got Albert. Appreciate you guys all coming out here tonight, man. We'll kind of pop in and out of the chat. I completely agree with this. Bengals will never get big time media coverage again. The moment was last year as far as hype. They lived up to it for sure. Yeah, that's kind of my my main point too is as you were saying here, media and agendas, right? Yeah, the Bengals were definitely not on sports media's agenda this year at all. I got a good question here for you, Stephen. What do you think of the Frank Wright hiring, by the way?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I root for Frank Reich as a person. I root for him as a coach because I think he was a good coach. I think what he wanted to do in Indy was what we needed. I just think that like Ursay, Ballard, a lot of the Colts organization just never really gave him a chance, to be honest. I mean, there's so little you can actually do with what he had at his disposal after Andrew Luck was gone. I mean, he stepped into a shit situation, and year after year after year, they just gave him a shit situation. I mean, and tried to put a little bit of a polish on it with a Philip Rivers or, just give me Carson Wentz. They never gave him a chance. And he's going into a situation where Carolina, very aggressive owner. I would not be surprised if they jumped up, grabbed Bryce Young right from my hands and just took him, and he had a quarterback to work with and pair him up with DJ Moore. This Carolina Panthers team could get good in a very fast way behind Frank Reich. I'm not sure Frank is ever going to lead this team to a Super Bowl or anything like that, but if you look at it just from a high level, he's coming into a division which sucks terribly. Tampa Bay is obviously going to take a massive step back, you would assume, right? And they were already really bad. I would imagine a big rebuild coming there. And you get the Saints, if they don't figure out anything in the coaching quarterback situation, they're also going to suck. Honestly, the more and more I talk about it, the Panthers are going to probably be the favorites for that division for sure. And they could make, a game or two in the playoffs and, be an NFC contender next year because, who else, right? You're going to see some new teams come out of the NFC for sure.
Yeah, and they're like, one game away from going to the playoffs this year. So
they were scrappy, man. They were a feisty little team, and I think Frank Reich can lead.
They're always kind of a scrappy team, They're always kind of somewhere out there, They might make you lose. You never know.
Yeah, I'm saying Bears are going to get DJ Moore. I know he's trying to manifest that, but I think if you're the Panthers, you can't let go of DJ Moore now. Now that you got Frank Reich, I think you got to take advantage of a rookie quarterback, get DJ Moore to stay in the building, really build around him, and you got a great offense, I'm sure.
Yeah, do you think there could be some merit behind the fact that they held on to Brian Burns and DJ Moore as kind of cornerstone pieces on each side of the football to have something for people to come in and want to be there? Godfather says 2 Super Bowls out of 4 years and now have a 5th straight championship game hosting. Mahomes is still a guy, if not the guy. I agree with this.
He is the best quarterback in the league and the best quarterback I've ever seen. I do need to see some more Super Bowls out of him, though. I'll be honest, and it sounds crazy to say that, but don't you need to see more Super Bowls out of this guy?
Well, I think it's definitely more difficult than it's ever been to win, to have a dynasty team. I don't think we've really seen a true dynasty team since the Patriots, right? So, I think, and I'm not disagreeing with.
I think it's a little recency bias, though, man. Remember the peak Philip Rivers, peak Ben Roethlisberger days. I mean, we had some good quarterbacks. I mean, these are Hall of Fame quarterbacks that were right there contending with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. I mean, dude, Philip Rivers, when he was with the Chargers playing at peak powers, I mean, he was lighting it up, and he had LT. I mean, dude, that Marty Schottenheimer offense was disgusting. They were one of the best offenses ever. So, I mean, I don't think it's always been this difficult.
The era of Philip Rivers, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady.
I didn't say Eli Manning. Well, hey, he did win the most Super Bowls, but I didn't say him. Yeah,
are we talking Super Bowls here? Or are we just talking quarterback?
I'm just talking because you look at this and now you're looking at today's era, and I'm sure you'd want to say Justin Herbert. Some people are throwing Trevor Lawrence in there already. Obviously, you got Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, even though he's never won anything. You talk about some of these guys, and it's I just feel like there's a really good parallel to when we saw those guys doing it at a high level. I just think, if anything, you can make the argument that they're doing it at a younger age, right? I think these guys are a little bit younger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we're seeing is the paradigm shift. We've seen just about everyone retire except Tom Brady is going to play.
He's never going away. He's never going away.
Stretcher or something. Yeah. He's got a cane out there. But at the end of the day, I can agree with that. Yeah. I think we're getting close to that, 5 or 6 quarterbacks who are going to be dominant for a really long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's Mahomes is probably, if we're taking a comparison right now, is probably the Brady of the group. And then we're kind of, I think that the Peyton Manning of the group could be Burrow.
yeah. And one thing about Mahomes, though, and I said this the other stream, and then I heard somebody else say it, so it kind of like reconfirmed my opinion. But dude, Mahomes seriously has been hurt every single year except for 1 year in the playoffs. Like he has been hurt all the time. And so I will say, like, another like backing of Godfather's statement here is like, if he's healthy, first off, this isn't a game where it's a 1 point game, right? This is an even higher spread, right? And I think they win that Buccaneers Super Bowl, right? So I think he definitely has 2 Super Bowls. And there was another year where he was hurt too. And now this year he's hurt. And this could be the asterisk of why the Chiefs didn't win this year. So it's like there's just so many injuries. He needs to figure out something to stay healthy because he is a guy where if he is not able to do what he does at an older age, I don't think he has the same type of career that some of these other greats did. I mean, shoot, like he is so dependent on using his legs to make those big time plays.
But I think he could be a pocket quarterback better
You
than
think he
anybody.
could be but he is a great pocket passer,
Yeah.
but that's not how he plays.
But I feel like he could transition to anything he needs to. Like you look at like Russell Wilson, right, who was a quarterback who really relied on his ability.
Never want to use Russell Wilson.
Well, why not, dude? He went to 2 Super Bowls and won a Super Bowl. And you go like, dude, you know what I watched the other day was the clips and the highlights from that game against the Packers in the NFC Championship when they came back from like 3 scores in 3 minutes or whatever. Dude, some of those plays Russell Wilson was making just as incredible as what Mahomes does today.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Wilson
literally
makes some great plays for sure.
right. So, and that's what the point I'm making is you look at Russell Wilson and that era and the things he was able to do, the throws he was able to make off like the back of his foot and the scrambles and all these things, right? And his transition into the latter stage of his career, or what we believe is the latter stage of his career, I don't, it does not look like that transition is going well, is the point I'm making. I think Mahomes could have a transition where he could move into a different type of offense or an offense where he is just a pure pocket passer and be just fine. And I don't know if I would say that about
You couldn't say
any
that
other.
about Josh Allen.
No, that's right. I don't think I
Yeah.
would say it about any other active quarterback except for Joe Burrow because he doesn't rely on moving around. He
Yeah.
can here and there, but maybe Herbert as well. But when we look at
Herbert's got a lot to prove. Herbert's got a lot
Sure,
to prove with all the
sure, I
buzz he
don't
gets,
disagree.
man.
But we love our boy Herbert.
I love Herbert. I love him, and I think there's going to be some serious discount in fantasy next year for this guy. But
Sure. Yeah, very soon.
I will say that Herbert has a ton to prove, more to prove than Trevor Lawrence already, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, T-Law is going to be another big name. And
Yeah.
the one guy we haven't talked about at all tonight is Jalen Hurts, but we haven't moved over to the NFC yet. So
Yeah.
let's kind of we went in a couple directions there. Getting back to the Chiefs Bengals game. So what stood out to you the most last week about each team? And I'll give you my take, and then we'll kind of transition into who we think is going to win that matchup. Or I can go first since I put you on the spot. Because for me,
go. Why don't you talk about the AFC side or the NFC side? I'll talk about the AFC side.
Well, I was just I want to touch on the Chiefs Bengals first.
Okay.
So,
all right, go.
For the Chiefs last week, the biggest thing that stood out to me is that the defense showed up. Like year after year, this defense is kind of like in shambles. The secondary plays poorly. They don't always get great pressure. And then by the time the playoffs are there, it's like Chris Jones looks like as good as Aaron Donald. The secondary looks great. Like it's just like a completely different team.
Spagnuolo, man. Spagnuolo comes in there with a great defensive scheme.
I feel like he does it on purpose, bro.
He does, man.
Like he's like just play really poorly all season and
confuse
Mahomes,
everybody.
Andy will do his thing. Like we got this, we got Kelly. Like it's all good. And then when the playoffs come, we're gonna show what we really can do. So I think it's a tough read because this defense, we were kind of expecting them to not play so great, and they looked really good last week. That's the biggest thing that stood out to me for the Chiefs. And then obviously kind of on the opposite spectrum for the Bengals, it's like the firepower right out the gate. Like if this team gets rolling,
Dude,
The,
you
the
can't stop that team.
yeah, the momentum is completely on their side. So like when we look at this matchup this weekend, it's really interesting because if the Chiefs can come out and play good defense and slow that momentum of the Bengals, it's going to be huge. But on the opposite side, if the Bengals can come out and start that momentum like they did against the Bills, then I think the Chiefs defense gets put in a really bad place. And I just can't I I can't, decide on what I think is going to happen either way. I'm really stuck on both these games. I'll let you know that straight up. I'm kind of leaning the Bengals because I'm falling into the fandom right now. But the beginning of the week,
Dude, I'm so sick of people saying this fandom bullshit and like saying like, oh, people like earlier today.
well,
You know what I'm talking about when people are like, oh, the public's on this, public's on that. I don't give a shit, bro. The Bengals are the better team right now, and if this wasn't Mahomes, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And Mahomes is injured, dude. Chad Henne was a better quarterback than him last week, and
Chad
this
looked
injury
nice.
does not heal over 1 week. I mean, it's just like
So, you know who missed 6 weeks with this injury?
who?
Cooper Cup.
Okay, all right,
That's
but
no, that's the point I'm making. Is he missed 6 weeks? Mahomes is playing. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, and again, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like Mahomes, I think the real reason he is able to be as great as he is because what he can do with his feet is transcendent, right? Nobody we've ever seen in our entire lives can do what Mahomes can do, and with this offense, bro, like this offense is terrible without that ability. Like, but you think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be a difference maker in this game? Like, if already the Cincinnati Bengals have a great defensive coordinator, right? Lou can coach up with the best of them. The Bengals defensive guys are really good. Hendrickson, Hubbard, those guys can fly around and put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. All they're going to do is focus all their energy on Travis Kelce. I wouldn't even be surprised if they do like a bait and switch where the first half they give Kelce one look, second half they come back and shut him down in the second half. I think they are going to put a lot of pressure on Mahomes. And if he gets his ankle hit in the first quarter, this game's over. This game is like, it's done. It's done.
And if you're the Bengals, I mean, don't you think you're kind of aiming for the
Heck
ankle?
yeah. Heck yeah, they're doing
Mhm.
that, man. Yeah. Eli Apple's going to come out
Fine.
of left field with a baseball bat, like crack him over the ankle, man. But no, okay. So just to point out what on both sides of this. So the thing that actually stood out to me, yeah, the defense was huge for the Chiefs. That was probably mine too. But I would also say the run game of what they were able to do when
Yeah.
Mahomes took that injury. It's funny. You can kind of see Andy Reid. He goes from like kind of a calm composure, of like I'm gonna eat cheeseburgers, to like, oh shit, I better get in my bag and really turn some things up here. When I got Chad Henne in there, and Pacheco runs out there and he's running like a madman. I
Mhm.
think that if they can establish the run game early, control the clock, I think that's the best chance the Chiefs have, which is pretty crazy because usually it's kind of the other way around where you just want to, keep gunning and every single chance. But now it's really get the ball out of Burrow's hands. You don't want Burrow with the ball, especially you don't want Burrow with the ball last. And then on the
Yeah.
Bengals side, I think the main thing that really stuck out to me was, again, their ability to run the ball. I mean, the fact that they just ran down the throat of the Bills, I think that if they can, the passing game is obvious to me. I mean, it's very clear that Joe Burrow is going to be able to do whatever he wants whenever he wants it. But if Joe Mixon can also come out there and do those kind of things, and Samaje Perine can pick up those hard runs too, I really don't see how Kansas City is in a one score game with these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think on the season the better defense has been the Bengals, and that's what it's boiling down to me, or boiling down for me. But I think you make a really good point about the run game for both these teams. But unless one of these teams gets a lead, like a significant enough lead,
Who do
like
you
more
trust
than
with the lead? Do you trust the Chiefs with the lead? They had a
I trust the Bengals
21-3,
more.
they had a 21-point lead or 21 to 3-point lead on them last year, and they gave it up.
Yeah, I definitely trust the Bengals more at the lead
Yeah.
because, like I said, on the season the Bengals have played better defensively.
Yeah.
So it's a tough call, man. But like if I had to choose right now, I'd choose Bengals. But like
Yeah.
it's just you look at both these teams and both these offenses. Like I will not be surprised if either team wins,
No,
by any
no.
means.
I'm
Like
not
you were
betting
saying,
on this game though. Like it's
I'm not
scary
betting
to
on.
bet on
I
the
can't
game.
bet on either game. I just can't, dude. I
Oh, I can
can't.
bet on the other one. I'm feeling really confident
Okay,
about the other
okay.
one.
We'll get to that in a minute here, but yeah, I think this game could easily come down to who makes a mistake and or who has the ball last. It's
Yeah,
like this game will be really close. I think both these offenses can go neck and neck, and I do think while we've been talking about the defense a lot, uh, I could see both these defenses kind of folding like towards the end of this game.
yeah.
And just both offenses getting to the point where
I
there's
hope
just
so.
points going
I
up.
hope
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
what
yeah.
that's like. I hope it's what it's like. And John, because you actually called out, you were like, there is the chance that the Jags win that game.
Mhm.
And like I was saying with the Cowboys, if you go back and look at the tape, there's a real argument to be made that the Jaguars should have won that game. Christian Kirk dropped some really important passes, right? There was some
Yeah.
overthrows by Trevor Lawrence. There was I think, a critical drop by Zay Jones too at a certain point as well, and obviously some really bad timing turnovers. And it's like you take away a couple of those plays, you're looking at this game completely differently. And the Chiefs are out of the playoffs. And it's like, what the hell,
Sure.
man? They did not play a great game, in my opinion. And that's just taken away the fact that obviously Mahomes got banged up. But the Jaguars are not anywhere near what this Bengals team is. They're just completely different categories.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the Bengals kind of have like that experience from last year going through
Yeah.
the playoffs, right? So they feel a little bit more matured in that sense. So, and like we talked about, no one has really expected the Bengals to like they expected them to be a contender, but at this point, expecting them to be out.
Yeah.
So I feel like they have nothing to lose. So
Yeah.
I think
So,
we're both leading Bengals.
yeah, I see Godfather, saying that I'm not betting on it, but I'm very against the Chiefs. And I think ultimately what it comes down to is like, I've never really been in a spot where I've seen, this tight of a spread with Patrick Mahomes. And it's really scary for me to bet against Patrick Mahomes in any sense, just because like he could just be Mahomes and do something, and I'm going to feel very stupid for betting against him. But it's also, Thursday, so give me a couple more days, and I'm gonna definitely just want to bet. And currently, my Caesars account is blocked, so once that gets unblocked, I'm definitely betting on some stuff.
Bro, they just know like all these sites are coming after me and you, bro. They're restricting
Dude,
our
they're trying to take
accounts.
us down because they know we're out here making money, dude. I've been
Yeah, man.
I've been doing pretty well this playoffs. I was terrible during the regular season, but I'm doing all right during the playoffs.
All right. Let's move on to the NFC, right? We got Eagles and Niners. Okay. This is a tough game for me. I'm interested to get your takes here. Um, I think what it could come down to, and people have been saying this all throughout the playoffs, and it hasn't happened yet, but it could come down to Brock Purdy, a rookie quarterback, against the Philadelphia Eagles. Very, very good defense, right?
Hmm.
And on the other hand, you've got the San Francisco 49ers who have, like we mentioned earlier in the stream, a phenomenal defense, phenomenal front seven, but a weak secondary at the end of the day. And I could just see these Eagles receivers and Dallas Goddard coming out here early and often having some big moments in this game because we've seen AJ Brown really quiet last week. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. Uh, we've seen at like times this season where this Eagles passing game just like comes out of nowhere, right? And I think it's almost like they kind of save that for the right moments, because we know what the run game is and we know what Jalen Hurts can do both through the air and on the ground and this and that, what the defense can do. But it's like when this passing game gets going, it's scary, man. And I just think at the end of the day, I really like this Niners team, and I will not be surprised if they win. I really won't. At this game, I actually might be more torn on it at the end of the day because there's two really similar teams. And I just think if I had to make one argument, uh, you know, it, just a rookie quarterback against the Eagles defense. And that feels easy to say because Purdy's done an amazing job.
Yeah.
He's played very good football. He's managed these games well. He's used what he has around him well. It's just, I just feel like I'm still going towards the Eagles at the end of the day, but it's tough for me, man.
It's really hard for me not to go with the Eagles. I mean, like, kind of everything's lined up with these guys on this one. I know we were in a text thread earlier this week, and I said that what the X factor was going to be is, can the 49ers put shots on Jalen Hurts and make him think, twice about running with that shoulder, and B, can Jalen Hurts come in against a top defense, if not the best defense, and literally just beat him with his arm, right? Not his running, not having like kind of linebacker second guessing if it's a run or a pass, like just simply lining up, hitting the right read, and going up and down the field against a top defense and not making any mistakes. I still think that's going to be the X factor. But also, when you go back and look at the tape on these games, like I think it's also going to be about who's the more aggressive coach, who is willing to take those chances. And Kyle Shanahan was a scaredy cat against those Dallas Cowboys, man. He was making some bad calls in my mind. He played a conservative game in my mind. And I think that was kind of why like this 49ers team never really jumped out to anything. It was just a weird game plan. I was really kind of confused, and that's why it was such a boring game in my mind. I kind of felt like he was playing, like coaching at the same level of Mike McCarthy, which just should never be said. And Nick Sirianni, he's willing to be aggressive. He's willing to make some calls that are a little bit more out of the box. So I think if that kind of holds true here and, Kyle Shanahan tries to hold back Brock Purdy and not let him do what he does, I think this is going to get out of hand because the Eagles are going to be aggressive all day long. And another thing that is a little concerning and kind of was the nail in the coffin for me is you knew Christian McCaffrey was going to be a big piece of this team in the playoffs. And he is hurt, man. Back-to-back days missing practice. Like, that's not a great sign, dude. And he missed, dude. You can shake your head. They almost lost to the Cowboys, and he was out, and it was Elijah Mitchell in there. And now Elijah Mitchell's hurt, too, dude. Like, just a typical 49ers team, man.
Steven with the Christian McCaffrey hate.
Dude, he was literally, John, he was out in critical downs. He was only on one down he was a third down back at the end of that game, like in clutch moments. Like, that doesn't concern you at all? And now he's missing every practice?
Well, I do think they probably have to be like as careful as possible, obviously, with McCaffrey. So, I don't think he has to practice right now, but I do think what you're saying is valid. I just have to give you.
I know, no, he played a good game with the snaps he got. I mean, it's a really hard defense to go against, but it's not like he's going against an easy defense this time. Like, he's playing against a better interior defensive line. He's playing against a very aggressive defense, and Christian McCaffrey is going to be super needed in that game. And like, we can't just like do some Kyle Shanahan shit where we're just like, oh no, we're going to put in Darius Price or Trey Sermon or whoever the hell you want to do. Like, we got to have Christian McCaffrey run the rock 3 downs every job here. You're going to lose. Like, you're just not beating this Eagles team with Elijah Mitchell. I'm sorry, Kyle Shanahan.
Well, J-Dub says Debo will be fresh. He's throwing him in there.
Hopefully, yeah. We need to see some Debo in there too, man, because Debo's talking that mess after that Dallas Cowboys game. So he better be ready to go because this Eagles team's going to be ready for him too. I know. George Kittle's going to be ready to go though. That's for sure. I know
Kittle's been great, man. He's been great.
Good, man, for sure.
And I do think it's interesting because I think this Eagles defense matches up pretty well against this Niners offense.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, the Cowboys matched up well. We talked about that last week. But I think, once again, this Eagles unit might even match up a little bit better because they have the ability in terms of their secondary to kind of shut down Ayuk and Debo even. Maybe not Kittle, but they played pretty well against opposing tight ends as well. And they played good against the run. For the most part, they've been shaky at times this season.
That was when they were a little banged up, though. When they got other guys like Jordan Davis back, they were like impossible to run against. I mean, and where's Ayuk been this whole playoffs? Has he caught a pass?
Not many. Yeah.
Like I seriously have not seen him. I thought maybe he just left the team or something. Because I feel like I've seen Juan Jennings.
He caught 2 passes last week.
There we go.
Yeah. But it's just so tough, man, because it's like, it's just tough. I'm super torn on this game, I feel like we're going to be wrong. It's going to be Chiefs and Niners like we had, 2 years ago or
kind of don't
3 years ago. That. Yeah. I kind of don't want to see it. I could just see these games going either way. I can see this game going either way, but I just feel like the Bengals and Eagles is where I'm at right now. So I won't be surprised if neither of those teams go. I won't be surprised if one of those two teams go. I just
But what's your pick? Give me your pick. Who's going to the Super
Bengals,
Bowl?
Bengals, Eagles. Yeah.
All right, I'm with you too. I'm with you.
Really?
That's where I'm at. It's
Yeah.
it's tough for me to really go against that. And I, take a step further. I know we'll talk about it, when it's Super Bowl time, but I'm looking at these last four remaining teams, and I just think the Eagles are kind of destined for Super Bowl here. They match up so perfectly against every single one of these teams. I'm having a hard time seeing if Jalen Hurts is healthy, how this team loses out of these next 2 weeks.
I almost put a bet on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. Like I know it. That looked like a joke in the group
Well, dude,
chat.
that was a pretty intense wager, wasn't that? Was that the
Oh,
one?
okay, that part was a joke, but I really was going to make a bet on. I just had that feeling like the
I don't.
Eagles are going to get done.
I think I think if you're looking at this and you're saying the Eagles are going to win this game, I think this is probably their last hard test because while I like the Bengals as the second best team remaining, I really feel like the Eagles can win the Super Bowl against them. I feel like they can really match up well against them.
I was thinking like if Burrow goes to the Super Bowl and loses, I think he might be the next Jim Kelly. Like I think he might go to like 4 straight Super Bowls.
Just go to like every single one, dude. Yeah. He would do it with way more swagger than Jim Kelly, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. I think our picks are Bengals, Eagles. So I can't believe we agree on something.
I feel confident with it though too, and also, yeah. I mean, I'm wondering how it's going to shape like the future of a couple of these teams. Like I see the comments about Trey Lance. I don't even think you need to ask the question if they go to the Super Bowl, what do they do with Trey Lance? I think you could just ask the question now, what do they do with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo when you've got Brock Purdy? Is it his team or is it a free agents team? If does this team better with a Derek Carr or like with obviously with a Tom Brady? I think they're a better team, but is this team better with Derek Carr?
No. Because what does this team rely on? They rely on being able to have Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, the defense that they have, et cetera, et cetera. Like if they can have Brock Purdy on a rookie contract,
I think that is a pretty huge thing. Yeah.
So they're not going to go for anyone. No, they got Purdy and Lance. Like they'll figure it out between.
I think they should trade all three for like a first round draft pick, like a number 1 draft pick or something. Like just trade the Bears and be like, listen, we'll give you 3 shots at a starting quarterback between Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, and Brock Purdy. Figure it out on your own.
I do think it'd be interesting if they also re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo and just held on to him.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo's having a fun time dating girls out in San Francisco and living the San Francisco lifestyle and doing his thing and being a backup. That seems to be all he does. And whenever I see pictures of him, he's just dating different women and being Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback that plays and sometimes is on the bench.
And he's a great backup quarterback.
He is. He's a. It's like Jimmy GQ, man. He's a model. He's not built for the field. He's built for freaking magazines.
And he's already made bank. He can do whatever he wants. So it'd be interesting if he stayed as well. But yeah, man, it's hard for me because I look at this Niners team. I'm like, I think it's really difficult to slow down this offense. I think the defense has played really well, even if the secondary has struggled. They've done a good job of capitalizing off of the front seven that's there. But at the end of the day, I'm just going with the Eagles right now.
I like that.
And to be fair, I was pretty high on the Eagles coming into the season. I was really high on Jalen Hurts and this team taking a big step forward, especially after A.J. Brown got traded there. So
I am thankful I bet future on their division odd, so they cashed me out a little bit. But I should have went a step further with the Super Bowl odd. I would have got big time cash like our buddy.
Is what it is, man.
Yeah.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda. So I guess that wraps it up. I guess that was a little bit. I mean, we had some good debate though.
With the last 10 minutes, you want to take a couple looks at the site that you're blocked from?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what the I did
I
look
haven't
at.
really looked at these too much other than I saw the one you sent over about Joe Burrow. I'm just I know that I'm gonna end up, like having that tied with a bunch of losing parlay bets. So
Yeah,
already getting my hopes up for that.
I haven't won anything in like forever on any props. But let's see what Underdog's got to offer. Let's see. By the way, here's my best ball money. I can't withdraw because my account's restricted. Um,
That's so whack.
I know. But anyways, I would take Purdy over 220 and a half passing yards.
It's not a bad bet.
I mean, but I guess he has been pretty shaky. But I just feel like they're going to be in a position where they need to throw the football. So, by the way, Jerry's in the house. What's
Yeah,
up,
what's
Jerry?
going on, Jerry? I see you down there. What's up, my man? How you
I
doing,
would
man?
I would take Christian McCaffrey to score a touchdown for sure because he's had a rushing touchdown.
Each of the
Well,
playoff games, right?
he's had a touchdown every
Yeah.
game. So yeah, it's rushing or receiving. I would take this for sure.
What do you
You
think
know,
about the rushing attempts? If you think he's going to be healthy, you think 14 rushing attempts?
I wouldn't take that
It was a little risky looking at those.
because you look at game script. He could potentially be in a game script where they don't run the football as much the second half. So, but then he could get in a game script where. But even if they do want to run the football in the second half, like if they do have a lead,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to use CMC in my
I
opinion.
don't mind that receiving yards one, to be honest. The one weakness of this Eagles defense is the linebackers. I could see him eating the crap out of those guys, just going hard in paint against those linebackers. But um, I don't see him doing it on the ground in this game, I guess is my point.
That's fair.
So the touchdown is always a little risky because you never know with the touchdown. But yeah, I mean, you're right. He is seeing the work in the red zone right now.
Yeah, I would take that line for sure. I probably wouldn't take anything on Debo because
Debo's so difficult, bro. Debo is like
yeah,
insanely difficult to pin
if I
down.
really was going to take one, it'd probably be the fantasy points. But that's still like so risky. Like you're just banking on him having a big game there, like at the end of the day, because it's too hard for Debo to really pin down. Like
I'd say rushing is the only one I like with him. Is that if we're saying Christian's a little banged up, they're not. I think at this point you got to say that Debo's gonna because Christian is banged up. Elijah is banged up. I think they say Debo's our best runner at this point, health wise. If Christian's down,
that's
Ayuk,
fair.
I'm not touching.
Definitely not taking Ayuk line. Kittle's interesting. I think he had 5 receptions. Yeah, 5 last week, 2 and 4.
He's very hard, man. He's
He
very
is
hard to
it's
pick.
difficult because even a 47.5 is pretty high. Like he's coming off a big game, is why it's so high.
Fantasy
Uh,
points.
Fancy points not too bad. Like he's hit that 2 the last 3 and wasn't too far under against Seattle, but it's not a great matchup for Kittle. I mean, I don't know. If I had to take any of these, I would take the fantasy points.
Yeah.
But then, like you're betting on Kittle scoring a touchdown essentially. Because if he gets a
Yes, yeah.
touchdown, that's 6 points, and he'll make up the rest more than likely. But he hasn't scored a touchdown since he faced Arizona. So I mean, I don't really love these lines. I don't really like any of these lines except for the C-Mac touchdown.
Well, there's one guy. Keep going down.
Robbie Gold, I would probably take. I mean, he's got 4 field goals in his last 2 games.
Yeah.
I would probably consider that.
I think this is an under type of game too. I think right now is at like 45 or 46 points, and I think if you do think this can be a close game, and if you think San Francisco is going to be in the game, I think it's going to be on the lower side of points, and I think that the 49ers probably do the same kind of stuff that they've been doing since they entered the playoffs, which is like we got to get points every drive. And Robbie Gould is the best kicker in the league right now that is still playing football. The guy is crushing it over the back half of the season.
Yeah. Who also is really difficult to call props wise is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I didn't like the 1.5 passing TDs. The interceptions is kind of interesting, but I think that's like kind of being a little risky, to be honest.
It's always risky. Yeah. And you look at how many different lines there are. That's like a pretty telltale sign of like it's pretty difficult to pick.
I don't like the rushing. I don't think he does that. I think they're going to be pretty keyed in on stopping the ground game for him. But then it's like it's hard to bet against it, right? It's hard to bet the under on that because he could bust off a big one, and then he's got like a couple more carries to really get it done. Miles Sanders, I'm fading heavily this week.
I would fade Sanders. Gainwell at 12 rushing yards, not too
I've
bad.
been watching this line with Gainwell. It's gone from like 8 to
That's
9 to 10. Now it's up at close to 12. So I feel
I
like they're
would
starting to
I would
think
take
it's
that
going up.
line. Yeah, I
It's
would
not a
take that
bad
line
one, to be honest,
for sure.
especially if they are taking the lead in the second half. I think Gainwell is going to get some work because he balled out last week in the second half.
I take Devonta Smith over 5 receptions for sure.
Yeah.
He's the security blanket, and that secondary has not played well.
I like Smith a lot. Yeah, Smith was like the one guy I was thinking about going after pretty hard here. Goddard, I don't like because while, it was weird because Schultz actually cooked, but the 49ers have been really good against the tight end position this year. So I wasn't
Yeah,
really expecting Schultz to come out and like kind of ball out, but he was kind of eating like all day long for that Cowboys team.
I would
Obviously, he choked at the end, but
consider Goddard receptions. But that's probably it. But the other two lines aren't too bad. They're not too bad at all. He was very involved last week, so I like that. But
Jake Elliott's too sketch.
Elliott's sketch, yeah. Burrow, what's the passing yards at? 280. He hasn't hit that on many.
I'm
But I feel
definitely
like
going
this.
prize picks on him.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not,
prize picks. He just needs to make one completion basically.
yeah.
That might be the better site to
I like Joe
look for.
Mixon though. I like Joe Mixon. The
All right.
over the touchdown is interesting to me for sure.
Yeah,
I like the fantasy points a lot too because I think if you like the touchdown, you might as well bet the fantasy points. To be honest,
sure.
but I think what you see is that he just cooked the Bills, and I think if you're the Bengals, I would still want to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, even though he's injured. So I would be continuing to just feed Joe Mixon, who's a really, really talented back.
I would probably consider Chase for a touchdown, which is really sketchy, but like
That is a sketchy one for sure.
that's Burrow's boy, and he's been looking his way for the past couple weeks. And
He's been so dominant.
he really had 2 touchdowns last week. I don't care what anyone says.
What
But I
about
would
receptions? What about receptions? Because I bet the receptions last week and he disappointed me, but
yeah, seven's high. Seven's
7
high.
is really high.
Even for because I mean really it's 8, for the highest.
Receiving yards is pretty high too, but I don't know. That one's interesting. T. Higgins could be the alt here and going over to T's side.
He's been pretty quiet the last couple of weeks, so I just don't love it.
Tyler Boyd.
Boyd done. He's been quiet too. Trenton Irwin is who I'm sorry, but what's up with this picture of Isaiah Pacheco?
Yo, Hurst is somebody I
was about to
love,
say-
bro. I've hit Hurst these past couple of weeks, and he is a dog.
Hurst, I would consider for sure because the Chiefs have not played well against tight ends. He's had at least 4 receptions. I kind of like his reception line because I think you could get it closer to a push than anything, as long as he gets 4 receptions. So, looking at the Chiefs, I don't know because Kelsey's always so
McKinnon?
high. Like, McKinnon didn't do anything last week, so
Yeah, that was really weird. But like 61 rushing and receiving combined is pretty interesting to me, to be honest.
He just was not involved. I don't know, man. And then even against Vegas in week 18, which, whatever. But I don't know, man. I never liked the Chiefs lines,
I never want to touch it.
You know who usually can show up is like Noah Gray or Justin Watson because they usually have like one catch. And you look at these lines, like, 8.5 receiving yards, 12.5 receiving yards. Like, I'm not kidding. I would do a parlay where I pick both of those guys because I would not like they just get one desperation catch a game. Like, look at these lines,
And they are, the Bengals, I think, their only focus is to get get Kelsey out. And I was gonna say to that effect, the player that is Kelsey just at the receiving position is Juju Smith-Schuster. So go to his lines, you see 4 receptions. I know he's not been fantastic, but I think he does play a very similar role to Kelsey where he tries to eat up the zone, plays more of the slot middle guy. Could we see, Juju emerge here a little bit and the catches, or are you still kind of fading that? You're just like, I'm not.
It's
not
just
really
too
feeling it.
sketchy because, you've got all these guys and you still got Kelsey there. You got McKinnon there. I don't think Hardman is healthy. I don't even know. And is Sky Moore healthy? I don't know. But uh, I just
Does
don't like the Lions for any receivers.
is this like a 3-score game if Kelsey doesn't have 13 fantasy points? Like, that's a good way to ask this. Is like, if he doesn't have, what is it, 15 fantasy points? If he doesn't have that, like, is this even like a 2-score game? Like, he's gonna have to do something. Like, these other guys are not gonna keep this game close. So even if they're like triple teaming Kelsey, like, he's gonna have to get a touchdown or something. Like, it's like they're so reliant on Kelsey to get anything done.
I don't hate Kelsey for a touchdown, but
I
this
think
would be my personal parlay. Is the
Smith.
Smith receptions, Gainwell rushing yards, CMC touchdown, Chase touchdown, Justin Watson.
Wow, that's an intense one right there.
Yeah, if I was doing a parlay and I wasn't restricted, I would put all my best ball money.
Put 423 in there, man. Show Underdog what you could do right now. Wonder what that would be. What's that pay at? Oh, 8,460. Think about all the air mattresses you could get there.
Yeah. Well, with insurance, the max is 350. So I would put that down for sure. But I cannot. My account is restricted. So and Price Picks, I literally cannot win on Price Picks.
The lines are better on Prize Picks too. They're always.
I like Underdog.
Really?
More.
I think Prize Picks is always more favorable for the lines.
I'm an Underdog guy for sure, even though they hate me. So Hurts is definitely going to play Dom for sure. So Thomas likes the over on Brock Purdy rushing yards. He could be running for his life.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to go to wrap up the stream for the night. So we appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out, talking football, talking fantasy, talking playoffs, talking the Super Bowl, talking some nice props there at the end too. That's the way to wrap up the stream. So guys, hit that like button on the way out. Check out the links down below if you guys are new to the channel. Follow us on Instagram, join the Discord. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button as well. And I'll be on tomorrow night, figure out something to do. And I'll be on Saturday as well before we hop into the conference championship Sunday. So that'll do it, guys. Steven, I'll go ahead and let you sign off, and we'll wrap up, man.
Man, we've only got a couple more weeks of football. It's sad, but it's also kind of that best time of year where we get to see the best of the best. But man, it is pretty bittersweet. I was just thinking about it tonight. I was like, damn, it's like the Super Bowl in this week. The divisional playoffs is sometimes just more fun because it's got more games. We've only got, one day of football this weekend? Kind of sucks, right? But good thing we got the fantasy offseason. We got all these rookies to look forward to. So, hey, it's not over quite yet. You know, it's never totally over here at the Catch. But
it's not over.
It's not over yet. Especially when you got those Waterloos pouring back and forth, man. Where's our sponsorship, Waterloo? Where is our sponsorship?
I don't even have a Waterloo tonight.
Oh, dude, come on, man. I was trying to put you on. Now Waterloo's not going to sponsor you.
I've got empty ones. So
there it is. He already drank them. This guy's an alcoholic for the Waterloos.
I think actually. Yeah.
But right. No, it was a blast tonight, man. Like always, dude. Bengals, Eagles, Super Bowl.
Eagles. You heard it here.
All right, let's get it, man.
All right, guys. We appreciate you guys, man. Love you guys. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. We will talk to you guys soon. Everyone have a safe and great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk to you guys soon. So that'll do it. That'll wrap it up. So had a great time with you guys. Appreciate you guys coming out, man. So see ya. Just kidding. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And peace.